What's up, everybody? This is Limitz bringing you guys another high-level Halo Wars video. This time it's going to be a double header of LIMITZOFFSTATE against Hutzy and Knife Pro, and this is game 1 on Terminal Moraine. And we are actually running Anders Arbiter on this map, and they're running Cutter Brute. So the leader advantage here, I think, is actually very equal. What decides this map for leader advantage, in particular between these two combos, is going to be who gets more hooks at the beginning. And Livin calls out that they're going to be doing the Pelican exploit, and me and Livin actually don't do that on this map. So we kind of base our play around the other team doing it, which is kind of funny. But basically we still will fight for the hooks and try and get them naturally by just lining up your scout across the bridge and going across at the 1 minute mark. So anyways, I'm fighting for this hook right here, and the Warthog's actually taking quite a bit of damage, and it looks like I'm going to get it, but the Warthog drives through my ghost, and he's going to get the first one, but I'm going to get the second one because his scout dies. And we did not get the other side at all because they did use the Pelican exploit. So anyways, Livin has his work really cut out for him right now because he is an Anders on a single base with no hooks against Hutzy's Cutter, which has 3 extra, he has 2 extra supply pads and a barracks slot with a good reactor. So we're at a massive UNSC disadvantage right away. And I'm going to have to play defense on this Brute. I could go offense, but since we don't have any hooks or anything, you have to play defense. And Knife Pro's already at my base, which I'm not too happy about because I really want those supplies right in front of my base right here, and I'm going to be stubborn and greedy, and I'm actually going to go after these supplies, which actually is kind of a good thing because his chopper was right there trying to steal them. So my base is getting hit pretty hard right now, but the first thing you guys should notice here is Knife Pro's actually making a grave mistake of knocking my pad coming up and ignoring my turret completely. So my turret just was able to weaken his chieftain quite a bit right there, and stopping a pad that wasn't even up yet didn't really stall me a whole lot. Also, if you guys notice, Livin is multitasking like crazy right now. He's going to be having Warthogs in front of the Brute's base spawn locking, and he's also going to be having Warthogs across the bridge where the barracks is that Hutzy built, denying him from that reactor. And in this situation, basically I'm just going to be playing defense and blessing my pads close to my turret. And Livin's doing a good job of denying Hutzy completely, and Knife Pro. So Knife Pro's actually going to be taking his chances over here at Livin's base, and I keep frequently checking my side pad over there because it's getting hit by a sniper. I just want to keep tabs on its health. And up here there's going to be a glitch on a Brute squad. I don't know exactly what happens here, but I can't kill this Brute right now, and my Arbiter's like walking away from it even though I specifically asked it to kill it, and I can't rage it or anything. So I don't know what's going on with these two Brute squads, but it actually sorts itself out here and I'm going to be able to kill them. And so you hear LIVINOFFSTATE's reaction right there. Hutzy and Livin just got into a Warthog engagement, and Livin killed 4 of Hutzy's Warthogs with 3 of his, and Livin didn't lose a single Warthog, and he's going to tell me that here in a minute. And I apologize for the scratchiness in the background right now. Livin has his microphone a little touchy, and he has to fix it sometimes, so that's what the screeching in the background actually is, or the staticky stuff. So I actually end up trapping Knife Pro's brute in between my pads and putting a grunt to him, and he's going to recall with really low health, and LIVINOFFSTATE's actually just going to finish him off. And so now that we have taken care of Knife Pro, this is my cue to push up. And Hutzy already has a tank out, but that's the good thing about playing as the Arbiter, is because you're actually able to push up anyways, because you can rage down the first few stock tanks. So Livin already has Goss queued up, and I'm pushing up with my Arbiter, and we're going to basically stop summits so they can't get any air units out. And I'm teching my Arbiter right now so I can rage those tanks pretty easily. And I also have a summit up because I'm going to be getting Banshees up. So I'm porting in the grunt right here, and I'm going to move my Arbiter back a little bit so I can rage tanks and kind of stay in the shadows. And I'm going to try and get that grunt in and stop the summit, but the summit's already up and one grunt's just not going to do the trick. So I'm going to move in now and basically try and drop this summit before he can get too much air out. And I'm going to be going in and out of rage mode here, and what that's about basically is I know he has tanks right there and they're near, and basically I just kind of want to scare him off and keep him away from me so I can drop this summit. And so Livin's going to come in with his hogs and kind of take some pop shots at the summit as well. And now I'm actually going to engage those tanks before he actually gets enough numbers up or canister shell. So Livin's going to click me actually up here. And that's the good thing about playing with an Anders, is when they go Goss, they usually have quite a bit of money that they can click the Arbiter just to handle tanks. And I'm going to get 2 tanks when he drops a D-bomb. So I'm just going to kind of walk back up to the front of the base and drop the summit, since I'm unable to go to the back of the base with the D-bomb. So I'm looking back over at my pad, and it's red bar, so I'm going to be losing that soon. And I'm just kind of like having my Arbiter sit over here. I'm waiting for a tank to show up while staying out of the D-bomb. I'm going to have my Banshees kill the pad. I don't want to quite start maining the base because we're not sure if we're going to get it. And Hutzy's going to get a nice canister shell off on my Arby before I can get in rage mode. And I run into the D-bomb, I follow him in there, and so I'm going to try and get out of here so I can get a heal on my Arbiter. And now I'm going to be able to finish this pad here while I'm getting a heal. I'm going to finish the pad with the Banshees, that is. And I'm going to start maining the base now. So once again, checking up on my pad, it's still alive, and I see that Hutzy's rolling up with the tank, so I'm going to get right into rage mode. But luckily he turns around, and not only does he turn around, he uses his canister shell on a Warthog instead of my Arbiter, and so I'm just going to rage down his tank relatively easy right here. And Knife Pro's now going to be losing his base because we have enough Goss numbers. And my Banshee pop shots with my Arbiter guarding it is basically not going to let Hutzy be able to save it. So this is going to be concluding game 1 of the doubleheader. There will be a brief little intermission here, and we'll start up game 2. Alright, so here is game 2 of LIMITZOFFSTATE against Hutzy and Knife Pro in the doubleheader. And this game is on the docks. And this was played right after the terminal moraine game, so both teams had a little bit of thought on how they could adjust and change up their strategies. And me and Livin, we opted to stick with Anders Arbiter, and Hutzy and Knife Pro opted to stick with Cutter Brute. And so we are going to be double basing with our Anders, and you can see a white box on their side of the map, which means that they most likely are going to be double basing with the Cutter. And since I was so successful against Knife Pro the first game on defense, I'll be playing that again. And LIVINOFFSTATE is going to be doing all of the aggression and offensive attack for us once again. With LIVINOFFSTATE, what he's going to be doing is he's going to be going hogs as an Anders. You should always go warthogs on this map and then lead into tanks if you're going to do that, or stick with warthogs and lead into Goss. The problem with Anders Arbiter against Cutter Brute though on this map is that Cutter Brute has an advantage for the simple fact that Cutter can get tanks out fairly quickly on this map, and that Anders only has one direction to funnel her warthogs in. So once a Cutter can basically get out 2 or 3 tanks, the Anders can't really do much more harassment until your Covenant player gets in the game. But anyways, I'm kind of just scouting around with my Ghost here, seeing what's going on, and I see that Knife Pro is not going to be getting spawn locked this game. He built a turret. And it looks like he went Temple first as well with that, or he went Temple second. So that's actually really economy crushing on Knife Pro, and it also means that he's not going to have as many brute squads when he first ports through. And Hutzy's actually going to be sending his hogs right in front of my base, which is a bad idea because I have my Arbiter right there. So I'm going to be able to rage one and red bar the other. And I see that Knife Pro is already at Livin's base, so I really need to get up there. And basically, the bad thing about playing a Brute on this map as an Arbiter is I really have to make sure he doesn't garrison anything in those hooks that is right above the Anders base, which it looks like he's heading to right now. And the reason why you don't want him to get anything garrisoned in there is because although that from being garrisoned right there they cannot hit the base, he can walk his leader around and my Arbiter will take a lot of damage from those brute squads if I stay there, or he can move his chieftain over to my base, ungarrison, start taking some pop shots on LIVINOFFSTATE's pads, and my Arbiter can't be in 2 places at once. So that's kind of an advantage that a Brute has that they actually end up not using. So I see that he is actually starting to head to my base, so I'm queuing up a turret by my blessed pads to try and keep those alive, and Livin is with his warthogs keeping down vehicle depots from Hutzy, and I'm keeping my Ghost over there to help him out, give him more eyes on the map, see where the vehicle depots are coming up and what's all going on. And I'm actually going to end up getting this turret up while he vortexes right here. So my base is once again looking in a good position, and I'm actually going to play this really risky because since he did not kill my turret, I don't think he's going to port in brutes, or I would not port in brutes if that happened. So I'm going straight to Citadel here, and I'm going to try and get a grunt into his chieftain, and I'm going to be successful there. And so Hutzy does get a vehicle depot up, but we're targeting down the vehicle depot to try and stop the tank from getting out. And I'm pretty sure we're going to be successful with the vehicle depot over there and stop his tank. But we noticed that Knife Pro is actually going to be unlocking, and he has a whole bunch of brutes, so I'm going to start raging when I get debombed here. And this is actually not looking too good for my base right here, but once again there's a few things that Knife Pro could really improve on right here. As you can see, I'm going to be taking the option to hack at his brute squads with my Arbiter even in a debomb, and what Knife Pro probably should have done is just took a shot at my Arbiter and made me walk away, because I don't even have Fiendish, and with that many brutes he's going to do a number on my Arbiter. But instead he's not doing anything to my Arbiter, he's just letting me hack at some brutes while I can tech Fiendish and basically just lower these numbers while in a debomb still. And although he's doing a number on my economy, I am blessing that pad up front, and I built a pad up front, so like I expected to lose supply pads, so I already started building more supply pads so my economy wouldn't take as much of a shot, as opposed to building a summit in that earlier situation. So the debomb here is almost gone, and I saved up quite a bit of money so I could rage the rest of these brute squads. And everything kind of works out at a nice timing here, because LIVINOFFSTATE has to retreat now. Hutzy does have a tank out to defend, and I think he has more than just that one tank. I think Hutzy has about 2 or 3 tanks right now, and Livin's falling completely back. But Livin does have Goss, and we're going to finish up this chieftain, and basically once this chieftain is off my base, I can go back up on offense or help Livin out on defense. So Hutzy is actually making an early tank push right here, and he's going to be stopping Livin's reserves. And I don't really quite have the money to rage that many tanks right now, so I'm just casually going to be walking up. So I'm kind of telling Livin that I don't have the money to rage 3 tanks right now, that I'm going to need a click, or we're just going to have to wait. But Livin says that he can help me out. He'll distract with the warthogs and give me a click if I need it. So we're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to rage up here and push. And we see that Hutzy actually has fallen completely back. He's not even in the middle, blockading it. So Livin's going to run his warthogs off to the side of Hutzy's base here and start sideswiping, and I'm going to go straight in for the tanks. And there's nothing that Hutzy can really do in this situation, because he used his D-bomb on my base. So, and we also pushed at a really good time, because he was trying to tech canister shell right here. And so we just sideswiped the side and back of his base with Goss hogs while I raged down all of his tanks. And Livin's making ends meet by clicking my Arbiter. And basically we just took Hutzy out of the game here. So Hutzy does still have 2 bases, but as you can see he's trying to get his vehicle depots up on the secondary, and we did quite a number on his base. And so what's going to happen here is Livin's going to go back and finish sideswiping and hitting the secondary while I stay on the main base and make sure he doesn't get any vehicle depots out. We're not too concerned about the Banshees, because if the Banshees do a number on my base, it doesn't matter, because Goss is going to beat Banshees if there's no tanks on the field. But I am thinking about clicking Livin here, and in a minute I will be clicking Livin so you can just freeze the Banshees. And that's basically just to stall Knife Pro, maybe knock down a few of his numbers. But I see that he does have quite a few numbers, so that's why I'm going to be clicking for a freeze here. Also, when I'm on this base here, I'm clicking pads and stuff in the Fog of War, or I was, And basically what that is, it's right there. I'm checking to see if he exploded a supply pad to try and get a vehicle depot up, and he left his main base completely the same, so I'm just going to recall because he's not getting a vehicle depot up or anything, and I'm going to start raging the air. And Livin already took out the secondary completely, and this game's pretty much over because all that we have to do now is split our hogs, and that's exactly what Livin's going to be doing here. Livin's going to be sending half of his hogs to the UNSC to make sure he can't get a tank out, and the other half over to Knife Pro's base to drop the summits. So Hutzy's going to resign, and Knife Pro's going to stay in the game for just a little bit longer. And this is going to be concluding our double header against Hutzy and Knife Pro with the LIMITZOFFSTATE debut. So you guys can enjoy me doing my little Superman thing here, and you guys comment, rate, subscribe, and have a great day.
Local units.
My blade is ready. I move. Honor. Let me go. What shall I do?
Your team is victorious.